Good day. It's Wednesday, April the 21st. I'm Martin Gagel with Radius Research. Today we're joined by Mark Saxon, CEO of Medallion Resources, MDL on the Venture Exchange. Firstly, Mark will be giving an overview of the presentation, and then we'll do a deep dive looking into the company and the markets. Thanks for joining us today. Take it away, Mark.
Thank you very much, Martin, and I hope the new role is going well in the new company. Good to see the presentations and the work you're doing there. So I hope it's going well. So first of all, thank you very much to everyone who's online today and listening into the story. Medallion is a TSX venture listed company, and we've been in business for quite a while. And I'd like to share some of that with you today about the work we're doing in rare earth metals. And please feel free to contact me directly. We've got the email address on screen there, and we can have a good discussion. So Medallion is a rare earth company, as I said. We are not a mining company. We are a resources issuer. However, we've taken a slightly different approach in the rare earth sector. And I'll share that with you today. But essentially, we're taking a low-value byproduct mineral called mineral sand monazite and converting it into a high-value end product, which is separated NdPr, which goes into high-value rare earth magnets. So a slightly different story to many of our peers, but that's a good thing, and I'll share that with you now. Because we are a TSX venture issuer, of course, the necessary disclaimer, and that's a good segue, I guess, into talking a little about myself and how I got here. I'm obviously Australian, but running a Canadian company is a little unusual. But I'm based in Bendigo, just north of Melbourne. But I've been involved in the mining industry for about 30 years, and specifically in rare earth metals for about 15 years. And so I had the good fortune of making a very large discovery in my previous company, which was a company called Tasman Metals, which has now been taken over. And in that company, we went from 20 cents to $6 with a major discovery during the rare earth boom. So I've been working in rare earth metals since that time and have a pretty good sector knowledge of the entire industry. So I guess, first of all, the macro case for rare earth elements. And this covers ourselves and many other peer companies. But essentially, we're dealing with some of the biggest shifts in the way we live, in the way we do business in our lives, really certainly within 100 years. The transition to renewable energy and the electrification of our entire systems and life really are underpinning a whole major set of new consumption trends and principles. And this is the shift away from carbon-based fuels into renewable energy, which is requiring a massive amount of new materials. So we can think lithium, we can think graphite, we can think rare earths, we can think cobalt. All of those materials have extremely bright forecasts over the next decade. There'll be timing mismatches. Not every company will be a winner, but as a whole, the industry is going to do extremely well. And I guess underpinning that is a focus on sustainability and improving the way that we source our materials. There's no point having renewable power without having resources that are sustainably produced. Medallion is very focused on that story, and our particular focus is on the what we call the rare earth magnet metals, which is dysprosium, terbium, neodymium, praseodymium. And I'll use those interchangeably, and essentially we're talking about the metals that go into high-strength permanent magnets. The magnets themselves, amazing as they are, they're not really that exciting. They're small magnets that have many applications. And we can see at the bottom line in that slide there, the applications that really we're talking about. So if we're motivated about the automotive industry, switching to EVs, if we're motivated about wind, if we're motivated about robotics or mobile devices, then the pull-through on the raw materials that are needed, both for battery materials and rare earths, is really quite amazing. And so we're talking about sort of 10 times increases in demand in those materials. A little shocking to think how the mining industry is going to catch up to that, but it's essential. So a very brief overview there of how the rare earth industry looks today. So in terms of supply distribution and in terms of volumes. Not to touch on it very much, but essentially it's a very Chinese industry. And it's worked well in the past when it's been a fairly modest scale industry. We've been happy to buy raw materials from Chinese suppliers. Looking forward, where the ESG brand is far more important, where customers really are expecting to see cradle-to-grave solutions for materials, we really do need ex-Chinese solutions, and that's where Medallion is sitting in the story at the moment. So a little 5-minute picture there of the rare earth element story for many companies. And rare earths are hard. It's a complex market. We have a range of different metals. We have many different products. We have many different customers. It really is quite a hill to climb for all of us. But really, like every kind of business, it's about the perspective that we take on the market. And we can see down at the bottom there in that little slide where my little guy from the previous one is sort of climbing up the hill. It's a tough market because there are many, many steps in the market that we need to get through. So we need to discover the project, we need to do the development, we need to do the research, we need to find the markets, the customers, pre-feasibility, feasibility, many, many steps that we need to go through. And for a small and specialty market like rare earths, that really is a challenge. So most companies are climbing the cliff there, going through small steps and trying to find the logistics and the partners. Medallion instead, and Medallion has taken a different path. And so Medallion is kind of on a fast track in this industry. And so instead of climbing up that cliff, as my dotted arrow shows there, we're kind of going from the bottom to the top at a very fast pace. And we're well on that pathway at the moment. And that's because we're taking a different business model approach. And the business model approach, and I guess, yeah, there's the motherhood statement and the holistic view of our business model there. But yeah, we're focused on a financially robust business model, environmentally sustainable business model, a very clear focus on the magnetic rare earths. And we do this by applying best-in-class technologies and doing things a little bit different to the typical small mining company. So the Medallion approach, yeah, I've got it summarized here on one slide, and yeah, very happy to dig into this as we need to, and yeah, and answer any questions. But essentially, Medallion is focused on utilization of what's called mineral sand monazite. So around the world, today, globally, we can see, yeah, hundreds of thousands of tons of mineral sand monazite is being produced. That is either going to a Chinese market or is not going to a customer at all. It's going back into a pit or a stockpile. So mineral sands are mined in many countries around the world, and I'll show you a map in a moment, but particularly Australia, Southeast Asia, and African countries are the major producers of mineral sands. So when we talk about mineral sands, these are mines often in coastal locations that were built for the recovery of zirconium and titanium minerals. Monazite as well, the rare earth mineral that we're seeking, is also a heavy mineral, and so the wind and the wave action that concentrated the zircon or the ilmenite or the rutile has also concentrated mineral sand monazite. Looking backwards, that monazite really hasn't had much of a market, and certainly not a market outside of China. Today, we're identifying that it's a really, really great feedstock. It's a very high-grade rare earth mineral. It has a perfect blend of neodymium and praseodymium, which are going into the magnet market. And it really is the best feedstock that exists on the planet in order to get a sustainable rare earth industry. So from my little flow chart there, we can see we're going to be a buyer of mineral sands from many places around the world, and we're talking to people in all of those locations. In the middle of the chart, we can see what we call the Medallion monazite process. So this is a process that takes the mineral sand monazite and converts it from, say, $2,000 per ton into something that's worth, yeah, let's say up to $80 per kilogram. So a very, very high value uptick in that process. It's a reasonably well-known process. However, the work of Medallion has optimized and greatly improved that process to make it transferable, sustainable, and scalable. So we can take our process and place it into any location almost in the world and be producing rare earths very close to the mine site. So we're not going to be transporting material too far around the world. That just doesn't make sense economically, and certainly not with carbon footprint. We're going to be doing it in a number of hubs where the mineral sands from a region come to us. We've added on also a system called LAD, Ligand Assisted Displacement Chromatography, which is the final step of value add in our process. So we've been referring to mineral sand monazite as the neodymium praseodymium superfood, and And so mineral sand monazite is a great feedstock because it's very rich in rare earths. It means that it's rich enough and valuable enough to be transported into the hubs that Medallion will be establishing. It can come from a whole range of mines. There's a little bit produced in the US on the Georgia coast, not very much in the US at all, unfortunately. So yeah, most of it's produced outside the US, but we can consider Brazil, we can consider the Philippines, we can consider Indonesia, India, Sri Lanka. There's many places in Southeast Asia. The neodymium praseodymium mix that we can see there is about as good as it gets in the rare earth market. So we're focused on our capital, and our OPEX is all going to the most important metals. And yeah, we've got a great and sustainable process to extract that. And yeah, we'll soon be publishing our techno-economic study that describes that process as we begin the rollout and we begin the next phases of operation. So as I said, lots of this mineral sand monazite around the world, and I've just highlighted there sort of some of the key locations. Australia, where I'm living, yeah, for me, it's literally an hour's drive to get to a mineral sand mine, and that is currently handling monazite. There's many so that's in Victoria, where we can see the Murray Basin written at the bottom there. Yeah, Western Australia is strong, Africa is strong. And within this, there is some of the world's yeah, largest mining companies, Rio Tinto included, are a mineral sand monazite producer. And so, yeah, we are in a position where we can produce, where we can gain almost unlimited amounts of mineral sand monazite and use that as a feedstock that doesn't require additional mining. So that's very exciting, simple, and great for our economics also. I've noted on the slide there that mineral sand monazite is homogeneous, and that really deals with a lot of the issues that the industry faces, because a typical rare earth mine has a lot of complexity. It may have minerals that have never been described before. It certainly may have minerals that have never been processed before, and that's just the nature of rare earths. The rare earths will be distributed between carbonates and phosphates and silicates, and all of those require a typical process, and that's for hard rock mining. For mineral sand monazite, the action of the waves means that the mineral sand monazite essentially has been sorted and purified. And so wherever we go in the world, and we're in the process at the moment of testing a range of mineral sand monazites from various prospects, we can bring that into our process, and we know that we can process it. We know how it's going to process. We know the OPEX, and it fits within our existing plant. We don't need to modify our plant. All we need to do is a 5% modification of chemical input and output, and we're ready to go. So that makes the Medallion monazite process extremely robust, predictable. It means we can hit our timelines and our promises, and that's very hard to do in the rare earth sector. So a well-known slide that we've been showing for a little while, that yeah, essentially, yeah, and beyond the scope of today, but that's how our process looks. And as I said in the outset, we've recently invested in a technology called Ligand assisted displacement chromatography, which is the separation phase, the downstream phase in the rare earth sector, which is where additional value is added. And again, probably beyond the scope, but we can talk about it in the Q&A. That this system, which has been developed at Purdue University, is a very environmentally friendly system of rare earth separation. It works within aqueous in a water setting, very low chemical use, and is a highly optimized way of separating rare earth metals. So we are the licensee for that, and we can apply it both to our own technologies, but we're also looking at external partnerships where we can apply it to other people's separation challenges as well. Because yeah, at the moment, there's very few processes in the world that that you could call environmental. Most processes are using high volumes of solvents that are linked back to the petrochemical industry. And yeah, this method by Purdue University, who are yeah, a global expert in chromatography, has given us a way of breaking down that that environmental footprint. So before I hand back to you there, Martin, yeah, just some of the details, but yeah, we can pick this up in many places on the web. So yeah, Medallion's had a pretty good 12 months. I've been in the company for 12 months, and we've had a good run in the share prices. We've drawn some attention to it. But yeah, we're looking very positively ahead. We've got lots of milestones in front of us. And yeah, I think we're going to have a great balance of the year as we start to hit some very, very major milestones. So the next major milestone is the delivery of our techno-economic study, which is very close and certainly within a month. We'll be delivering a life cycle assessment, which shows that, how low impact our business model is, and how we're going to be, certainly I believe, the world's lowest CO2 impact producer of rare earth metals. And rolling on from then, when we're starting to talk about the location that we work and the volumes that we're going to be working, and the first hub that we're going to be working with as we move forward. So on that note, please see again my email address there, and very happy, Martin, to hand back to you, and head for some Q&A. So thank you very much for the time.
All right, Mark. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Cheers.
Okay, thanks, Martin. You too. Cheers.